And here in Germany, the outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz says too many workers are still struggling to make ends meet with their monthly paycheck. His Social Democrat Party has been pushing for a 15-euro minimum wage in Germany. It was a sticking point in their coalition talk with the Conservatives of incoming Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Economists are divided over whether a new minimum wage would help or hurt Germany's struggling economy.
Washing, cutting, trimming. Oksana has been working at the Cutman hair salon in Berlin for 3 years. Like many in her line of work, she's passionate about styling her customers and having a friendly chat while doing so. At the same time, many hairdressers are also worried as they're making minimum wage in times of drastically rising prices. In Germany, 6 million people work for 12.82 euros per hour, most of them in retail, gastro and service jobs. Their exact earnings are set by an independent commission. They're required to look towards the median wage and set the minimum at around 60%. But for employers, the question of higher wages is not such an easy equation.
Here at Cutman, that would mean that we have to cut down on personnel and we have to raise prices. 100% will have to pass this on to customers because the money has to come from somewhere.
Ever since the minimum wage was standardized back in 2015, it has risen steadily, starting at 8.50 euros. If the minimum wage were to reach 15 euros, as is currently discussed, it would be a 76% rise over 11 years, far outpacing standard wages, which on average have only gone up by 22% between 2015 and today. Pros and cons of a higher minimum wage can be argued in any hair salon or bakery or restaurant for that matter, but they're also debated among economists, and they too disagree on what's best for the country and its stagnating economy.
A higher minimum wage guarantees many people a higher income, but it also helps the economy as a whole, as it makes the economy more dynamic. It increases demand and productivity as well.
A higher minimum wage certainly strengthens the purchasing power of those who earn it. But we have to be clear about the fact that it also increases prices for goods and services produced or provided by those people who are actually earning that minimum wage.
Like the haircuts at Cutman, for example. They would go up in price, and the salon fears that customers might cut back on visits.
Lars Halter from our business desk filed that report. He joins me in the studio now. Lars, what's the latest on the minimum wage in Germany? Will we actually see it rise to 15 euros?
Well, Gerhard, it's likely, but it's of course for the Commission to decide. And as I pointed out there, it's an independent commission that is made up of representatives of employers as well as workers. And they will hash that out. And they are technically tied to these statistics, of course. Like I said, they're looking at a median wage. They take 60% as the supposed minimum wage. But as you know, there's a lot of wiggle room in just about any statistics. So they're trying to haggle over what statistics exactly to use. And this is where it becomes a little political, of course. Now we have an incoming new government that is made of a junior partner, the Social Democrats, and they have made it very clear they would like to see these 15 euros, whereas the CDU, as a major partner, they said they don't necessarily see that number looking at the statistics. Of course, now this independent commission has to figure out where they land.
Now, we saw in your report that economists are split or whether a hike would be good or bad for the German economy. What's their line of argumentation?
The problem, Gerhard, is that they're both right. Because on the one hand, of course, you have workers that need more money because we are seeing inflation. The cost of living has gone up, rents have gone up, grocery prices have gone up. So, of course, you have to pay people more. But at the same time, of course, companies are already dealing with higher costs. We had that energy crisis over the last couple of years. We are now looking at these tariff threats out of the United States. Now, add to that higher wages, of course, it fuels inflation even more. As a matter of fact, though, and I think that's important to just keep in mind, we are in that inflation spiral that is healthy to a certain degree. Now, if you do want to fuel that, you do have to fuel it at the bottom. That's most helpful. When you give more money to people who have the least, they tend to spend it, of course. They reinvest it in the economy by buying more groceries or clothes, or maybe vacationing or so. So that's definitely a good starting point.
Now, If raising the minimum wage is so controversial, are there any other options?
There's always options. One of them, of course, would be tax cuts. Those always have to be also at the lower rung, of course. Right now, you can earn up to 9,800 euros tax-free in Germany. It's only about 800 euros a month. That's per year. So if you would raise that level to, let's say, 12, or some people have even suggested up to 20,000 tax-free, that, of course, wouldn't cost employers anything. It would give people a lot more money in their pocket, and it would definitely spur investment, spur consumption, and it might actually lead to a place where these tax cuts might pay for themselves. And if not, you have to probably raise taxes at the higher rungs of the economy, and that eventually balances itself out too.
So is there no way to cut taxes, no leeway to cut taxes in the budget?
Of course, and that's where it becomes political again, because then you don't have that independent commission again. That would be for the new government to hash out.
Thank you very much, Lars Halter, from our business department.